Hello everyone and welcome to the FX Masters program, lesson 15. We had a bit of a couple of weeks of recess to give all of you a chance to catch up with the assignments. I'll be completely honest, I'm not 100% happy with the amount of material being shared. I understand, okay, this is not a complaint, and I'm not, by all means, I'm not going against anyone particularly or at all. You're my students and I love you guys and I appreciate everything you do. I understand you have work commitments and family, we all do. I'm just saying that if you're listening to this and you have time to do the assignments, okay, and you're doing them but you're not sharing them, that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm not really, keen on that. Remember that if you are interested in getting your certificate of completion at the end of the program, it's my duty and it's an ethical thing. I need to see the assignments. I need to be able to see your progress. I cannot vouch for, I can give you a receipt that you bought the course, but if I want to put my name out there and say, yeah, this guy really learned, what the program is about, I need to see samples. And it's better if you do them little by little and save them, of course, so at the end of the year or the end of the course, we'll compile them and look at them together. If you want the certificate, that I need to see all those things. So please do your best as much as you can, right? It doesn't take much. A couple of hours of, watch a lesson a couple of times and at least one a week. I need to see more interaction. There's only 4, 5, or 6 students that are the ones that are on top of things and probably they have more time. I don't know. But I need to start seeing something. Comments, at least let me know if you're listening. Almost, it sounds like a radio signal, right? Let me know if you're there, if you're listening. So do your best, and I'll do my best to help you get there faster, right? All right, lesson 15. Couple of weeks of rest. I have material prepared for a few lessons, so probably I'll record. This one I'm recording from Venezuela, right? So I came back to my home country for a little bit. You know that I'm traveling around. But it's always good to come home for a little bit. So lesson 15, we're gonna keep talking. We're still developing topics from the portion of the level 1 Effects Power User Program 2017, level 1. I still want to talk a little bit more about the instancer. Remember that it's not about being repetitive and boring. I believe that my lessons so far have been very interesting, all of them. If I manage to get excited myself after all these years in the business and doing these things, it must be because the class is cool. Because sometimes I see these things and even I get excited to the point that I feel like a student, right? I feel like, Jesus, I wish I could just watch my own lesson again. So I'm not trying to be repetitive, but I just need to make sure that these topics are well discussed and well covered, right? There's so many applications that we have. So we're still here. We soon, actually, next lesson is already considered to me, and parts of the previous one as well. We start seeing encloth, which is for me is meant to be actually, if you can see here on the masterclass portions. Remember that I'm not going in a particular order, strict order, as with the Effects Power User Program 2013. I'm kind of jumping a little bit to make it more interesting and more dynamic. So we already started talking about encloth. On the next lesson, we'll actually be talking about encloth as well. But I still want to talk a little bit more about the instancer, and not just the instancer, just situations. That's my whole point with these courses. We're talking about different situations that you can use certain techniques and certain tools. So we're going to talk about a new one. So it takes care of portions of the level 1, okay, as I said. And also we're going to keep talking about the effects prototyping portions. The next lesson is going to be about avatar, our first one. So we're going to start talking about the first effect from this portion of the course. So I think we're going at a very good pace. Be prepared, prepare your material, prepare your stuff. Remember that I'm trying to work on a student reel. I think it'll be interesting to let the world know what you guys are up to. You're doing very cool stuff. And I'm sure that those of you who are not publishing on the group for now, I'm sure you have stuff that will be interesting to see. So be prepared for that. One of these lessons coming up soon is going to be a Q&A. I'm still waiting for questions from you. I'm not talking about questions on a particular problem that you're having in an effect. I'm talking about questions in general of the industry, my career, things you want to know about me. I usually do that as a talk, as a Q&A, or like a talk. I've been doing around the world in a few countries. Um, well, you guys being my favorite students, then you deserve one just for you. So just send me questions. I'll be talking, you know, um, answering everything you want to know, or as much as I can. And so that's coming as soon as you post the questions, as soon as I have material to talk. I prefer to wait a little for you guys to tell me what you want to hear than just me guessing. I kind of know because I've done it so many times, and I know what people in the audience ask me all the time. It must be the same kind of questions, but if you want specific answers, directed just for you, then just please, by all means, just post it on the group. All right, so there we go. Let's go ahead and begin. Enough talk. So this is the BBC Planet Earth. You know that this is our main reference. Still, episode 1, which is, like I said before, is just a collection of pretty much everything we're going to do in that course. You can go into specific episodes and watch in more depth, but this one, pole to pole, tends to cover a little bit of each part. So I think it's interesting. There's a couple of situations. Actually, it was interesting because one of you guys in the group actually asked me a question. This class was already meant to come. Actually, if you following my social media, you've seen a sample of this from weeks ago. So I had this class ready. I just the way I like to work, and probably so you understand a little bit better why we take sometimes breaks and all. It's not because, excuse me, it's not because I'm busy with something else. I'm dedicated 100% to this course. I'm not taking any jobs. I'm not taking any more freelancing. I'm doing this full time. I travel because I want to meet you guys. I have the opportunity started already to meet some of you in Mexico, in Colombia, even here in my country. There's a couple of students. And we take the breaks. Actually, I do them for you more than for me, actually. I want to give you time because I know it's overwhelming. I know that there's a lot of excitement when you buy the course and you begin. You want to watch everything. You want to jump straight to big explosions and big things. And I understand that. So I need to give you time for you to chew on all this material. It may not seem like much, that we have about 40 hours probably divided into the two languages. It may not seem like much, but I know because I know for a fact. I know because I know, but I know because also you also tell me that already with the amount of knowledge that you have, you can do so many different effects, and that's what I'm so excited and curious about what you're working on, what you can come up with. Remember that it's not just replicating. Replicating what I do in class is acceptable. It's fine. It's the minimum I expect from you. But when I see something new, when I see a new experiment, when I see a variation, or even better, when I see a combination of techniques from lesson 13, with 12, with 1, with 6, that's when I start getting excited. That's when it starts getting interesting and challenging and, attractive to prospective employers. Remember that, I have over 12 years in this business. So if you look at my email, if you can see my email, the folders that I have saved, I have contact from every major company in the world. I worked in most of them, at least the big ones. Okay, so I want to believe me that I want to share with them. Look, if you need people, because I know how hard it is to find good artists, good effects artists. I want to share it, but I want to see more. I want to see variation. So my point, I give you those breaks, so to let you catch up, to let you experiment a little bit. Okay, by all means, I don't want you to believe that or think that I'm busy with something else or I'm putting this course on the side. Not at all. I am starting a new course. Yes, the movie of the week program. That's a separate course, but it's easy for me to do them both. It's not a big deal. So we're gonna go at our own pace. You guys are gonna be the feedback that I'm getting from you, and that's why I'm so pushy with you guys posting and talking to me on the group. All of you, those of you who are listening to this, because I know you're all watching this, but not all of you are posting or at least saying hi in the group, at least saying something or at least giving comments to your mates. No, 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 you don't have to post if you don't have anything to post, but at least say something. You know, there's some guys out there that are really putting an effort and they're publishing things every day, and they enjoy. You know, they're open to criticism and they enjoy the comments, and they who doesn't like to hear that their effect looks cool and you like it, right? It's inspirational for you. Everyone likes that. So you know, they take those breaks just for what they are. Try to work on the thing, try to catch up. Don't try to follow my rhythm. I actually lowered the pace a little bit because I thought at the beginning I was going a bit too fast. If this takes longer than a year to record, it's not a big deal at all. Because like I said, I'm making sure that you have enough tools to start making money right now. So you don't have to wait until this course is over for you to feel that you're ready to go in and start working on something and start making money. You can start making money at the moment, guaranteed, with the amount of information that I'm giving you. And every day, of course, you get more and more tools and you will be more proactive. But if you want to start making money, which we all do, right? If you want to make money with this, you need to start testing. You need to start getting the material out in the group, and for me to be able to share it as well and help you. Because sometimes, I get offers from freelance work that I'm not going to do because I'm just working on these courses. But that doesn't stop you guys from taking it, right? But I need to show something, that people want to see images in any form. Yeah, I've been very, um, specific and very clear in what you can show, what you cannot show, meaning that you don't have to show perfectly lit renders and everything just all the way to the end. Play blasts are a very good way to showcase what you can do, especially for effects. So by all means, right? So get the material out there, get ready, and start showing things so I can start helping you as well. This is not I have to be clear because I have so much experience just teaching and talking and dealing with public that this is not a guarantee that I will get you jobs. No, by all means, right? But I will try to do my best for the people to see your work, and the jobs will come. I know because I come from there. So please, by all means, right? So start sharing, get out there, get the material ready, start doing your assignments, and enjoy yourself. And as soon as you start seeing money coming in, trust me, there's nothing better than getting paid for what you love to do, right? That's a dream. It just doesn't even feel like a job at some point. So take my word for that. All right, so this is the planet Earth portion, right? This is what we're going to try to achieve today. This is my version of that as a still frame. Yes, it has a lot of way to go, but that's more of on a rendering side, which that I don't care. The rendering for me is secondary, even the third place. But there you go. So this is something that we have. This is, if you see them, let's just see them walking here. There you go. The purpose of this lesson is not just talking about the instancer because it's something that we already covered. Just let them run a little bit. That's not that. I'm talking about the zebras walking, but they're coming now. My point of this lesson, like I said, is not talking about the instancer. It's just, there you go, talking about scale. Getting a sense of scale. Making the right choices. There you go, that's the shot. Making the right choices as far as emission techniques and how to tackle a shot like this. And I want you to start or continue to train your eyes and see things beyond what they actually look, literally. This is literally, okay, a group of zebras just walking in let's call it the desert or a plain. Yes, that's true. That's what they are. But you tell me that if I'm wrong, but don't they look, if you just let them walk, or doesn't it feel, remove from your imagination the zebra and put like a missile or a boat or a plane leaving a trail or a car. Doesn't it look like it? There you go. Once again, let me just back up a little bit. There you go, goes up, and there you go. Doesn't it leave like it? Doesn't it feel like something leaving a? It is something leaving a trail of dust, or a trail of smoke, and even in this case, it's white. So it could be anything. So my point is, I'm not teaching you today to do zebras walking in the desert. No, I'm teaching you something. I'm teaching you how to think and how to adapt concepts that what we know, what we already talked about. Actually, today, for example, we're not going to cover any new topics as far as Maya's functionality or tools. We're going to be talking about things, and most of I want these lessons to go. That's what it makes them so special, and it makes them so much different from. And I apologize if someone gets hurt by this, but all the junk that is out there, the tutorials out there, it's not. If I wasn't selling this, I would still say the same thing. It's just, and actually, I'm talking to people who already bought it because this is not a promotional material. I'm not putting this on Facebook and say everything else is just shit. I don't like to use curse words in my courses, but hey, it is crap what's out there. We have to agree. It's basic stuff with people who have no experience, and very few professional artists are doing material. And I know this, and I know why they don't do it as well. Well, first of all, they don't have the. I feel that I have the experience, and I've been blessed with probably an ability to put my ideas out there and express them correctly. I'm lucky to speak two languages, and yes, I'm a particular case. I can afford to live out of this and not taking in jobs. But you know what's the worst part? You know what I saw? And I saw it because when I founded VFX Learning years ago, I was still working in films. So I used to work 9 to 6 on my movies at work and Frame Store. I think it was a Frame Store when I began, or actually Cinesite when I started the website. I was working 9 to 6. I was supervising on John Carter of Mars. I started doing this school, thinking of the future, thinking of this. This is what I'm living now. What I was dreaming back then. My life is not perfect. Whose life is perfect, right? But I'm happy. I'm happy because I can travel. I'm happy because I put my own hours. I run my own business. I work for myself. This is something that I always wanted, and I'm able to travel and meet students, and it's getting interesting. It's getting fun finally. But my point was that my coworkers used to see me working, or they knew that after 6 I couldn't go drink with them at the pub or whatever, because I used to go home and just work on my website, work on the courses until past midnight, and then come sleepy to work. It was hell. But what made me sad, what made me angry back then from them, and probably the reason why I don't talk to many of my coworkers from back in the day, is because they were getting mad at me, and they were getting angry because why are you sharing what we know? Why are you telling people this? It's like it's a big secret, or it's something that I'm gonna die, or if someone else gets a job, I'm not gonna eat today. I'm talking about people who make thousands and thousands of dollars a year doing what they like, and they don't feel like sharing even a tiny bit of information. So the more they got angry, the more material and the more information I wanted to give away. So that's why the material out there, the courses out there, are, in my opinion, are not up to the quality that they have, because they just talk about tools and just talk about numbers, and that's it. I don't like that. I like to talk about situations, and I like to probably try as much as I can to open my brain and let you in, and try to see things through my eyes, and how do I approach an effect, and why do I say most of the time that things are easy. I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm not trying to be uh, annoying, or try to be someone that I'm not. But I try to break things in simple parts. So I see something, I don't get scared right away. I just think, well, I think I can do it. It's hard for me to say no. At least I have to try it. And if I don't get it all the way there, it doesn't matter. That's another thing. You shouldn't measure your success if you can accomplish the full effect at home, or the full effect in income. No. For me, a successful artist is that person who can just simplify and subdivide a complex effect into simple tasks and get as far as possible. These are jobs that we never do alone. We always have someone, other teammates and everything. So I think it's for example, my plan for the movie of the week program is not always accomplish the effect. I think we learn a lot from the information that I give, but we learn a lot from our mistakes. I do. So making a mistake or hitting a wall, in my opinion, it teaches you a lot. So if we have an effect and we cannot accomplish, or we fail trying to go from one approach to the other, we learn in the process a lot. We learn about. I think it's a big important part of this is just knowing your limitations, knowing limits, and knowing what happens if I failed on this, but I learned something from that, and that's the important part. That's the beauty of these courses, in my opinion. So, going back to the main point, what I see here, I see zebras walking, but I see trails. So these trails or this approach can be used for many things. Can be used for cars, can be used for boats or other animals, of course. The things that are flying, you can just get in your mind, remove this ground and put them in they're flying in the air and they're leaving trails. So that's the important bit. And mostly is to make the right decision, because in another lesson coming soon, we're going to do elephants. And I'm going to talk about impacts and trails of dust in a different way. In this case, I see a main trail. I see that, yes, they are interacting with the ground, especially here in this main shot that we're working on. I see them, they're interacting, but I give you, well, I cannot give you money, right? But I challenge you to see every hoof interaction with the ground and see if you can see a little puff of dust, and I guarantee you won't. So once again, I'm back to topics or concepts, okay? Or I want to change the way you think. Or if you haven't thought about this, then I want to make you think this way. And that's one of the few moments where I'm trying to be cocky and I always try to be open and flexible with this, but I want you to think this way. This way will guarantee you more money, will guarantee you more time with family and friends. If you think this way, simplify it. A type of artist that tends to be a pandemic nowadays and a disease, which I'm trying to cure, is to try and be as technical and specific and showcase all the power that X software or Y software can do. And you will say, well, you know what, man, I'm not going to count them, but I have, 200 zebras walking here. Times 4 legs, okay? So I have 800 different emitters, and because Houdini or Cinema 4D or whatever is your taste nowadays, it's a procedural thing, and you can just put 800 emitters and calculate everything in real time and blah, 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 blah. I don't care, man. I don't know if you watch How I Met Your Mother. If you watch How I Met Your Mother, there's the character Barney, right? And there's a funny, I always think of it, there's a funny episode where you kind of hear what he hears when he's not interested in what they're talking. And it's almost like a trombone, badly played trombone, right? It's like a noise. That's what happens to me when I hear those things. I just stop listening. I don't care. They're not going to impress me. And if your supervisor, actually, I'm about to be 36 years old now. So I'm thinking that the new supervisors in studios are from my generation. And if we come from similar backgrounds, okay, if we have done what we have done, and we learn the way we learn, they're going to be as bored as I am listening to those things. Not going to impress us. And you want to make a difference. You want to sound different. You want to be someone they remember when you go to an interview, when you do a phone call interview, whatever. It has to be something special. And to be honest, I interviewed lots of people, and I never heard people talking like that, especially the new generation of artists. So keep that in mind. I don't care. You can do 800 minutes with a script and you took X amount of days. I'm going to do this in 30 minutes, roughly. And I'm going to leave it open for you to do it and use it in other things. So in all honesty, man, taking all the glamour aside and then even in a way trivializing what we do. Remember what I said, this is a private conversation between me and you guys. Your clients don't have to know this. You can tell your client, yeah, I did some program and I put emitters on every hoof and blah, blah, blah. Yes, go that way to make more money. That's fine. Okay, there's moments where you can use that technique. Impress them with that. Scare them with that. But in all honesty, man, what you can see there, okay, is not very different from what you have here. I'm not going for the exact same distribution. You know me already, right? So I'm doing my take of this, and actually have more animals than in this shot. It's the same thing. And again, this is for a class. I have to do it quickly, but you guys are gonna put more time in this, and you're gonna do it even better than me. But it is the same thing. I don't have 800 emitters. I don't have 2,000 emitters. I don't even know how many zebras. We're going to count them now. I don't know how many zebras I have, but believe me, I don't have that. I don't have those sophisticated systems. And that's not happening here. And let's analyze it. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I think that's what I want for this lesson. This is a simple, as far as dynamics go, it's simple. But I think the concepts are what's important here. In real life, yes, each hoof is touching the ground and is lifting a little bit of dust. Correct. But we don't see them further because they're further away. Of course, if we're getting closer, that's what I'm saying. We're going to do the elephant example when you can see a close-up hit from the hoof of the animal, the foot of the animal, with the ground. That's a different story. But in situations like this, which are many, for many films, okay, this could be Mad Max, for example. This could be many trucks rolling around in this. There must be 20 shots of this in that movie, right? And when you're starting to work on films, usually that's what you get. If there's dust, they're gonna give it to you. Trust me, that's just you have to, work your way up. So I want you to just jump all those steps, right? So for you to help yourself, yes, in reality it's happening that, but at the same time, after every impact, the little bit of dust is being lifted, but it's being combined with the other hoof from the animal. These animals are so close together, they're actually bouncing or colliding with each other. So there's so much dust being kicked up that it starts to mix. That's why we get one animal. Actually, you can see them in this. For example, this is generated by this group, right? They're all kind of the same level, and they generate this cloud here. This is a mixture of all the dust that is being lifted by all of them. Individual animals are hard to read because they don't kick up as much. Actually, this guy must be dragging its hoofs or feet. I don't know. I'm sorry about my English in that word. I know. But it must be dragging along because he's leaving a trail. Remember that the distance between the legs of these animals is not that great. It's not that much distance. They're kicking up dust. Dust tends to expand and it starts to clump up. And once it groups together, these particles of dust, that's when you start seeing them because light starts to bounce off them, whatever, right? So in reality, yes, there are 4 impacts per animal every time they walk, but the dust is combined and is just looking as a single trail. That's how we're going to approach it. That's how I see it in my mind. I don't see individual emitters. I've got questions in the group about, yes, this kind of things, about instancing emitters on individual, having like a main object with particle emitters or whatever. Someone asked me about the bullets with the bubbles for part of the FX Power User program. Some other of you have asked me about spaceships with engines. The instancer is not very good at that. And be careful with those things as well because, this kind of things can happen. Someone inexperienced, in my opinion, may say, well, I'm going to have one zebra. I'm going to rig the emitters on the hooves. I'm going to have all that set up, and then I'm going to instance it so you have all those emitters. That's the biggest mistake you can make. I promise you, you're going to be there on the weekend. I promise you're going to eat your profit if you're freelancing this thing. Don't tackle it that way. We're going to tackle one emitter per zebra, and it's coming for free. We're not going to have to add emitters to the main zebra and then instance it. No, not at all. This comes for free. It's one of the easiest things we're going to do. That's why the introduction to the class is probably even longer than the actual class itself once we get to Maya. But this is how I want you to handle these things. Start simple. Start very simple always. Get your prototypes out. Get this thing seen by your supervisor. Don't disclose information that you shouldn't be disclosing about the simplicity of how you're working on these things. Don't share it. Because I've seen it. There's people who, don't care about your life. And at the end of the day, you have to, the sooner you realize this, the better. You're just a number at a company. You're a number that generates other numbers. So they don't care about your Saturday. They don't. Some people might. For the higher levels, they don't care. They don't even read your name. They don't care. They just talk about, I need someone for this. I need someone for that. That's it. Numbers. So don't disclose the simplicity, because I've seen people try to say, well, why are you doing this so simple? This is a big film. No, I want my 800 emitters. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Remember, it has to look good. If it looks good, it goes through. Okay? Because Michael Bay or James Cameron or Peter Jackson, okay, they don't care about your emitters. They don't care. They just look at an image. They look at an image with an editor, with a producer, okay, with people from the studio, and an executive from a studio whose background is in economics or administration or whatever. He doesn't care or know anything about your emitters or your rates or blah. Doesn't care. That's the truth. That's what they don't tell you in simple courses. So we're going to approach it on an emitter for free, one per zebra. We're going to leave a trail and let it combine with the others. That's it. That's all we're going to do. And yes, this is the first time we're going to be using the instancer with animated geometry that is on the ground. Just to show you, okay, this is one of those situations where I said it's not perfect. If it goes through, then fine. If not, then an animator will have to help you with a better walk cycle and things like that. Okay, but we're going to use an instance animated geometry on the ground, because at the moment we did it with the sea lions, and in that case doesn't matter. They don't really slip on something, but this animation, because it's just one cycle that I'm using. If you move the particles too fast, then they will look like they're actually slipping on over the ground. So we need to be careful with that and adjust it. Okay. All right, so let's go. This is our main goal. This is what I got as a result. I think it needs work, but it's interesting. Definitely, you feel the scale. That's what we need to feel here, scale. This class is about the scale of things and the simplicity of emission and having your life, easier to deal with. So that's what we're going for. And this is the final product, my product. I want to see yours as well. So on the FTP, I will put the zebra, of course, so you can have it. And remember, minimum requirements, I need to see what I did or better. Or I did something like this. Okay, go for it. All right, we're going to start with blank. My zebra that I bought is right here. It's actually great because it holds distances and in quantities, you see. And I'm sure once you put more time into lighting, because this is just regular lighting, just an environment light and one uniform lighting for the shadows. Well, if you enjoy lighting and then you put more time, then I think it's gonna be great because the texture is quite nice. So there we have our zebra. Our zebra, the cycle is 40 frames, right? So here we go. we're going to use our script that we created in the other lesson. So we're going to grab our zebra right here. I'm going to save this lesson, okay, as lesson 15. And I'm a bit worried because I'm saying lesson 15, but I think it's lesson 14. Let me just double check that because I don't want any confusions. And if I did, I apologize. Let me just double check this. 1 second. No, it's perfect. Lesson 14. Lesson 14, so this is lesson 15. So we're fine. I was doubting for a second because I didn't see a lesson 14 folder, file, but yeah, I remember that the 14 was a continuation of this one, so it's fine. All right, so lesson 14, that's fine. Let me just grab lesson 13 and add one more. Lesson 15. There we go. So this is my lesson 15, and we're going to use the script to generate the duplicates for the instancing. So there you go. Excellent. Original zebra can go. Here it is. I don't need it. Away you go. And there's my instances. Perfect. And my whole cycle. I hope. Okay. Beautiful. Zoom out. Well, that's an environment light that we can get rid of for now. There's my zebra. Let's go ahead and do the whole shot. You will see how easy it is. At least to set it up. You know that already. So let's go ahead and create a polyplane. Choose the scale you want to work with. I think I'm pretty big. I know that I'm pretty big because when your camera, is cutting off like that, it's because I have a massive scale. So anyway, I'm just gonna make it a little, because this zebra, I think is too big. We could measure it, but I don't care. To be honest, as long as it looks good, we probably have to scale it down a little bit. All right, so this is my plane. Let me just scale it up to fill it. Let's go ahead and right away. It's always better to make a camera and just pick your rendering angle right off the bat. So I'm going to try to go for something similar, of course. Okay, so an angle view like that. There we go. Okay, I think it's good. Let me just select my camera and do the same thing with the far clipping plane to extend it. Perfect. Let's pick resolution, have a resolution gauge. Let's just get our framing working. That's basically what we're doing right now. So let's get our framing going. Make sure that we fill the frame with the plane so we don't get any open spots in there. Probably we are okay here. There we go. Beautiful. It's a static camera, so we're fine here. Can probably do something like that. Okay, this is right angle. I like it. So I select my camera and lock it in place. So Shift E and Shift W for keyframing this camera. This is going to become my render camera, nothing special. Going back to perspective, done. This, this is going to be our render plane. So you can say a render ground. All right, I'm going to duplicate it, and this is going to be my emitter. So ground render. I think it's not a bad idea to, if you're gonna, roughly light it and texture or whatever, you can probably set it up beforehand before you add the complications of effects. No big deal. This is a simple shot, so I'm gonna do it all in one scene. It's not like the example for the Star Wars lessons where I had to have a render and then an export scene and a light scene, right? I think this is simple, so we could probably have it all together. It's not really a big deal. It looks cool and it's simple. That's what gets you paid, especially in these economies nowadays. I've seen it, right? And particularly in well, certain countries more than others. I'm not going to specify. Certain countries more than others, the quality of the work have lowered. Probably the requirements have, simple because they cannot pay that much money. And there's still money. I'm not saying there's no money in this. There's plenty of money in this to be made. You have to work smart. That's the thing. That's the key. So with clients with low expectations, you can still wow them uh, with simple techniques, simple to you, um, and there's still money out there, right? So my point is that this is a simple shop, but it can be used for commercials and printed material. It's quite interesting. You can combine many techniques, right? You can, you know that. I want to see what you do. I'm going to give you ideas on that. My point is, yeah, it's a simple thing, so we can have it all in one scene, and we can light it right away. So I'm going to grab my emitter. I'm going to make my layers as usual, right? So layer from selected. This is going to be, and then my emitter layer, so I don't confuse it with the render ground. So this is going to be my ground plane. There we go. Zebras for now can hide. So my render ground, I'm going to assign a new material and a texture. So there we go. Let's just assign a Lambert because it's dust. I don't think it's going to have any highlights or anything. Again, I have to repeat myself in every lesson because sadly it's necessary. These are not rendering courses. You can find your own way to texture and light your scenes. So it's up to you. This is what I do quickly here. It looks good. So I'm gonna have I'm gonna have here a file, and I'm gonna look for one of my ground textures that I'm using. Let me see where I am. There we go. So I got textures here. I don't believe I put it there, so I'm gonna have to look for it. Doesn't matter. Ground, no. For street, these are textures that I bought from, I think it's Dosh. I don't remember. Doesn't say here. Industrial, no, and ground here. Okay, natural. Let's see, we'll find something similar. This is cool. The thing is, if it has too many recognizable features, these are tileable textures and usually work. But if they have too many recognizable features, it could be tricky. Let's see if it has something more sandy. This is good. I don't know if they walk on that surface or not. This looks more sandy, but actually it kind of looks like it. There's tone variations, but I don't care. The lighting will also help you if you want to get just like that, right? I'm going to try natural 53. It's normal to look like that, of course. You know that already. You just have to scale it. Let's say to something like that, probably. Start to feel the pattern, right? Let's see. Let's put probably. Feels a little bit out of scale, but you'll adjust it yourself. I'm not too worried about it. I think it could be a little bit smaller, the pattern, but at the end of the day, this could be bigger lumps. So it's not too bad. Probably you can try one more time and scale it down a little. Just something like that. That's good. All right, so this is natural 53, I believe. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this because I'm lazy. I'm gonna go back in here, put the bump. I know that I'm gonna need a lot less than this, 0.1, simple stuff. And because I'm lazy, I just put that there, hit it, just so it takes me back to the folder. Then I go to the bump and look for bump 53. And I also have to adjust it like the other, so the same amount of times is repeating. Done. So I get bump and texture. Save this thing. I'm going to be using just normal environment and sky dome lighting this thing. And lame that it got so small. 1 second. we must be working in a massive area because this tends to cover everything. So let's just get rid of it again. It doesn't really matter. It will still cover. Yeah, it will still cover the whole thing. So I mean, it will light everything. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think this is gonna matter. No. All right, we'll test it. But yeah, we must be working on a ginormous environment. And let's just double check that, because if it's too big, it's unnecessary as well. We can probably scale everything down. There's no point of reference. So I'm gonna make a cube and I'm gonna look at it. Check it out. I went massive on this. This is ridiculous. Okay, so I'm gonna lower this. There's no point. Just lower it, and then we'll just scale down the instances. That's it. Look how big I went. This is crazy, man. Well, it's good. It's good for these things to happen. We need to adjust our render camera because we went too far. So let me just bring this back in here. Zoom in on the zebras. Okay, so this zebra is giant, a giant, so we're going to use something smaller than this. But it's okay because we know how to scale them quickly. I'm going to bring this back into normal range. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, scale it a little bit. Let's see if we can use some of this to cover that hole. Perfect. All right, this is more appropriate. And that's good because it means that we don't have to scale so much our texture. So let's take a look at it one more time. So ground plane, where is it? There you go. That's good because it's really unnecessary. Well, in this one we're not going to use fluids, and with fluids is the most important bit. But it's not really necessary to, put it so big of a plane for nothing. So 3 times is more than enough. And just for curiosity, I'm going to just put it straight up. Actually not bad at all. Let me just change as well the bump. I actually like it. We'll see. You guys decide. You can use one or you can just adjust it. Depends on the scale, and you can very easily change it after you put the zebras in there. So it's not really a big deal. I use 2. All right, 2 with this, 2 with the bump. All right. I think this is good. All right, cool. Let me just save this again. This is my camera 1, so make sure to keyframe it because I moved it to a different position. So Shift W, Shift E to update. If it's red, it has a new keyframe. So if you move it, it goes to a different color, like a pink. Okay, so we just hit render and see what it looks like. Let me just open the render view. Cool, Arnold is loaded. And make sure we render camera 1. It should render quickly. Remember, the first time you render, it's just converting the image, the texture. We're not using any sky yet. Okay, this is just white sky. It's just to see the ground, the texture if it's coming through, which it is. Everything's good. I'm gonna stop it. Too big of a render for testing, so let's just go HD 540 is more than enough. And we're going to use an image for the sky. Let's find one of the skies that we've been using. Those are, I don't believe I did, but let me just double check and see if I have a sky, because what's this? No. Sometimes I move them, but probably not. No. Okay, so no worries. We're gonna go find it in my folder. HDRI. I don't know what I'm gonna be using or what I used on that example, to be honest with you, but it doesn't matter. Find anything you like. Nothing too crazy like this. This is very African-like, at least the feeling that I get, which could work. If you go with something such an extreme, then you'll get orange anywhere. I mean, we can try it if you want. Although the naming of this is bad. Well, let's see. You see, it's gonna be too orange, but we can try. Let's see. First time it converts the image for the sky. I knew it. Yeah, it's too much. I like to show it. I knew it was gonna be funky, but it's good to show that what it can do. Let me see if I have another one here that is more appropriate. Let me see this one. I always like this one. Let's try it. And it's light. This is a spherical material. Let me just put it here. Okay, mirror ball. Let's try it. Remember that these things tend to output a lot of light. That's why it makes everything white like that. But no biggie. 0.1, let's see. A bit too blue, in my opinion. Let's change another one. Meadow trail, let's see this one. All right, let's go back to skies. No, this not. Let's go to the Dodge skies. These are nice. Okay, radiant skies. All right, let's see if we have something here that is interesting. We're not gonna go one by one. Just gonna look for the ones that have the TX, meaning I already used it for something. This looks like it. I see the TX here just to explain why I say this. The TX is what actually Arnold is doing. It just makes a copy of the image on a TX format, which is the one they use it. So everything that has a TX means that I already used it in a render. So it kind of saves me the time a little bit to narrow down the search. I'm gonna go for that one. I'm gonna make it work. Let's wait for this to change. Okay. Save my scene because I've seen this thing sometimes crash when you render the first time. Normal that it does that because I darken it down for the other picture. So grab the sky, bring this back to 1, get the full range. Yeah, okay, I can deal with this. It's a bit too brown and all. Will make it work better later. So I think for now it's fine. Okay. I'm not gonna care too much about anything else at the moment. I just want to get, like I said before, just get the frame render, get it going. Let me just bump it up to 5. Probably too much, but okay. I think it's good. It's good for now. Okay, so we get a scene that it works, it renders. Now let's work on the dynamics. Let me just show my instances one more time. There's my zebra. Still feel that we're a bit big, but okay. Okay. So select my camera. This is what I was talking about. You see, it's the channels that have changed. They change color. So Shift W, Shift E, everything is keyframe. Camera's not going to move. All right, so I get my emitter plane, so now I can go back and hide my ground plane, show my emitter, which actually is too big. So I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to duplicate this one again. And I'm going to add it to this layer. Perfect. This is my emitter. So simple. We'll go to Effects and Particles, Emit from Object. Regular Particles is a surface emitter. Hit Create. take my particles and do the usual things. For example, max count, let's say that we're going to have, I don't know, 300 zebras for now. A conserve of 0.98. I'm going to make them spheres for now so you can see them better. And I'm going to grab my emitter and up the rate to get them all right away. All right. There they are. Of course, we're not, we're spreading them all over the area. You can see that 300 is nothing. So go back to camera one. No, sorry, go back to perspective view. That's what we talked about in the first lessons. And actually, you can see that we have moved in here, so we can probably grab both planes. So bring everything to the center, so everything is just nicely laid out. So I'm gonna put everything here and just move my camera. Still big, because these environments tend to be massive. Okay, so it's my camera one. I'm just going to adjust my camera to make everything fit. See that I have a lot of space here to work with. Okay, let me just double check my corners. All right, everything's full, everything's fine. So this is my new camera angle. I think it was one of you, probably, I think it was Marcelo. Marcelo used to, he was having, in one of those weeks, he was having issues with scale as well. I would love to say that this is meant perfectly for you, Marcelo, but it's not. But at least it addresses the issue of scaling. So if you have too big of a scene, it's unnecessary, then your emitters can act funny. Forget about it if you have fluids. If you have rigid bodies, everything tends to act weird. Too big or too small. So this is what, it's a good way, it's a good, actually, I'm actually happy that this happened. Then you can see how to bring everything back to scaling, right? So make a cube, regular cube. If the thing is, if you cannot even see them in the scene, then you're probably off. And you can adjust it. So it's much better. All right, so I think now we're in a good place. Yep, everything is centered. Don't worry about the big zebra down there. We're gonna, fix that in a moment. I'm gonna put my environment in another layer. I'm gonna put it as an environment light layer because I don't want the distraction here, the visible distraction. Quick save doesn't hurt anybody. Let's give ourselves time. Whatever, let's just say 10 seconds. All right, and here they are, my 300. Second, in here. All right, these are spheres. You can see that they look like little dots. It means that this is a big scene, but I think it's okay for what we have right now. All right, here you go. So that's 300 zebras. That sucks. It doesn't feel like anything, right? So it makes you wonder how many are there here. You can count them if you have the time. It's not that many. Of course, this is closer, but and they're all grouped together. So we need to do something about this. In the usual stuff, we're going to use texture to emit. So grab the emitter. Let me just make sure that my ground is not getting on the way. It's just the emitter. There you go. We're going to assign Lambert. And on that Lambert, we're going to plug on the color. We're going to plug a ramp. I hope you know where I'm going with this because I've done it before. Circular. Go to texture mode. Flip this. Okay, we can pick an area, and the white, we're going to plug a noise as usual, which is a purling noise with a lot of frequency. Some definition between the white and the black with the amplitude. and the rest doesn't matter. I'm happy with this. It's just to randomize a little bit the area of emission. All right. Yeah, this could work. Perfect. We're going to plug that texture onto the emitter. Remember that you're plugging the ramp. You're not plugging the noise. Correct? Okay, so I got my stuff in here. This is my emitter. I'm going to go down the bottom, grab the ramp, throw it in there, enable texture rate. That's all. Okay, we don't need to see this. All I need to see is just going to help to get our better distribution of particles. Okay, let's make sure that this thing got enabled. And there they are. You see what I mean? By don't panicking, don't freaking out. You plugged everything, you did everything right. You hit play and the particles went all over the place. No problem. It's a machine. It's like is this the equivalent of kicking a washing machine or something? Give a little kick. I unplugged, unchecked texture rate, checked it back on, and the connection got made. It's like a loose cable. So this is the equivalent of a little elbow, little hit. Come on, do your job. Done. Problem solved. No panicking. I think it was Mohammed. Mohammed said it perfectly. He said that one of the things that he appreciates the most learning about this course is not to panic. And it's true, and I'm happy that he got it. And I'm sure you're getting it as well. The tendency at the beginning is to panic. I remember my father. My father died this year, but he was an old man, right? But usually, that generation, they fear computers, right? If the computer does something wrong, he just removes his hands from the computer. I don't know what happened. It's like they're dealing with a bomb all the time. In a way, we tend to be like that when we're learning these things. Of course, they're complicated. There's lots of things that can go wrong. But trusting your instinct, trusting your knowledge, right, is what's important. So yeah, don't panic. You see, I unchecked it, checked it back up, and it works. All right, so we get our 300 particles right here. Much better. It helps. Definitely helps. We'll see later if it's enough. Now we have the issue of the instances here. We can do a couple of things. We can scale them here. Anyway, we're going to have to do variations on the size of each one of them. So we could scale them there. I don't really care, to be honest, to scale them here. I don't really need to. So what I'm going to do is just instance them right away. So I'm going to grab all of them. Remember that you grab individually. You don't grab the group. If you grab the group, you're instancing all the contents of the group on each particle. That's not what you want. And particles, go to the instancer. Here all are in order. That's the important bit. Onto the particle shape one, hit create. And you know what it is. 300 of them. And they're going through the ground. No problem. We're going to fix those things. All right, cool. So we need to fix, first of all, let's rewind so we get rid of all of them. And fix the usual. So let's see. Right now they're locked. Right, so I did this on purpose. So you can see if you forget a step or something, again, don't panic. All of them are locked, and they're locked because they're just being used by the instancer now. So we committed a lot of mistakes that I usually don't, tell you not to do, and I'm doing it on purpose. There's been a few weeks since you saw the instancer lessons. You may forget a couple of things. No worries, no panic. Nothing is going to break. So we have a couple of issues. First, they're locked. We need to unlock them. That's nothing. Grab them all and unlock. Unlock select. Done. No problem. Second thing, pivot point is in the wrong place. No biggie. Select your move tool to see, then we go and move our pivot point. Then you move it to the ground. We can do it better from probably a right view or a left view. Let's see. Perfect. Just so you place it where it really should be. So once again, put it right there. Okay, that's a problem taken care of. It depends. If you can move the pivot point to the front as well, because usually the head is the one that makes the decision. So of turning, I mean. So we can probably move the pivot point somewhere there. You know what happens, remember? The particle or the geometry gets placed on the particle, so the pivot point of the geometry matches the position of the particle. So this is where it's going to land. And all the forces get applied here. So yeah, if you leave it in the center, then they turn funny. It happened with the sea lions. Remember, we had to put the pivot point in the nose, the tip of the nose? Well, similar thing. We'll test it here. If not, we'll change it later. No biggie. Done there. And the next thing, the transformations are all funny. So modify, freeze transforms. Done. And why not delete history just in case? No problem. You see, everything is fine. The computer didn't explode. We're all good. Go back to perspective. And now we should have 300 zebras all going through each other, but at least they're in the right place. Excellent. Simple, right? Very simple stuff. Hide it. Next thing, let's go into the particles and put some attributes in here. One is for scaling. So general, per particle, scale is a vector. We usually call them random scale. Done. Random scale. Let's go into creation. And we're going to say the random scale is going to be equal, I don't know, we need to test it. Random number between 0.1 and 0.2 probably. I don't know. Let's see. Go into the instancer. Scale, it is random scale. The disappear is normal. And if I had you live, I will ask you why. Don't panic. Why? Remember, this is a creation attribute. The particles were born, and I added the attribute. So if they're born already and the attribute is added later, then they just don't have information. It's 0. So the scale is 0. That's why they disappear. Then it's still there, but they just scale 0. So go back, go forward, done. Problem solved. We need to look through the camera to judge if the scale is correct or not. They feel a little bit on the big side. The big ones. The small ones, I think we're going to lower them down both a little bit. So let's say 0.75, and this one, let's just put 0.15. Let's see how that looks. Go ahead and play. Okay, they're more appropriate. Let me just double check with this. I have it in my memory, but in my mind, I mean. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this. Cool. That's taken care of. One thing, let's just move forward. All right, that sounds good. Issues, but we're gonna fix them. Next issue, they're not animated. We can fix that. So remember, object index. We have a cycle of. Let's just double check the cycle because I can't remember now. Let's grab the instancer. We have from 0 to 38. So go to the particles, attribute. This is a float per particle. We're gonna call this object index. We've done this before, so don't worry about it. Creation expression for object index. It's a random number, and we use 39, remember? The cycle is from 0 to 38. So we use 39, and we tell it on the object index to use object index. For that, we need to go to perspective and make sure that that's true, that it's working, that each one of them starts at a different position. And this is cool. This is when it starts getting fun because then you can just judge it by looking at the group. If it looks natural, it's true. This worries me. They're very similar. No, it's not. No, it is working. It's a short cycle, remember? I don't know. Let me just double check this, guys. Yeah. Yeah, it is working. Anyway, once they start moving, it's better, but just double check here. Yeah, you can see this one is different than this one. What bothers me is that this one and this one are very similar. Again, as a group, they have to look good from far away as a group. Yeah, you can see this one and this one are not the same. This one is not the same. It does work. The initial position, right? So we need to now do the expression on runtime to have it cycle through this animation, right? So this is just to get them at the beginning on a different point. So to pick a random one from the list of positions that they have, this stock in there. Now we need to have them cycle through them. So we need to go to runtime. And we're going to say if object index, again, okay, is less than 39, which is the end of our list, right? Again, we've done this before, but just to recap. If it's less than 39, then object index gets added 1. Right, so plus equal 1. This makes sure that as long as it hasn't reached the end of the list, object index, every frame that goes through gets a new, or gets the following post in the animation. Right? Sorry, that's not correct. That's correct. And if it's not, just put already these two guys. If it's not, then what you can do is just, because I'm lazy, copy this, and this is equal to 0. Sorry, equal to 0. So as long as this hasn't reached the end, add 1 to it. If you have reached the end, then go to 0. Meaning begin from the top of the list and starts running. Let's just test it. Okay, let's see. And they walk. So simple, but I like it. I still get excited after all these years. When they start moving, I feel, damn it, they're alive. Great. Another problem solved. I think it's time to save. Done. Another issue. Well, first of all, they're not moving forward, but I don't care for. I actually prefer them to be here at the moment. The big issue is that they're going through each other. Yeah. So I don't know if we have done this in classes before, but if it's new, then great. I'm actually happy. We're going to use a fake collision avoidance technique. It sounds more sophisticated than what it is. I'm going to do something simple. I'm going to grab my particles, which are my animals, okay, my zebras, and I'm going to connect them to a radial field. And we did it with the animals, with the predator example. We did it already. Okay, so I got my radial field in here. Already I'm going to grab the field and the particle, and I'm going to say you selected a source of field, meaning that each particle becomes a radial field. I'm going to grab the radial field, and I'm going to say apply per vertex is on. I'm going to give it a max distance. Apply per vertex, remember that it makes every particle an actual source of this force. Yes? Attenuation of 1, we can test it, I don't know. The max distance is going to be the radius, okay? Is it radius? Yeah, it's the radius, not the diameter. It's the radius of the search. I think it's the radius. But it doesn't matter. It's not really that technical, but I think it's the radius. It should technically be the radius. If not, it's the diameter of search in units in Maya. And that's the range, of course, of the force. So remember the radial field, from the center out, it pushes things away. So we're going to use this max distance to separate these animals and to judge how close to each other they need to get. It's an interesting thing on these videos. These groups, okay, there's portions, and this is a small pack, but these groups that are so close to each other, they almost look like they're going through each other. So a little bit of interpenetration is not a problem. I know that some people will be like whispering, Lewis is crazy. Well, how come can he say that? That's not technical and perfectly correct. You know my answer to that. So don't worry about it. I don't know. We'll test it. I don't know. Let's leave it like that and see what it does. It will be fun to see. So grab this here, say OK. See here how they separate and move? It's not so bad. Let them separate and organize themselves. I think it looks good. But because 20 is not that bad. 20, actually, if you can do a little measurement tool here and see if 20 is okay. We can go to the perspective and look at it from a different angle. We have this issue here. To avoid each other, they're going up. We'll fix that in a minute. Okay. This particle shouldn't go up like that. But as far as avoiding each other, it's good. Let's do a little bit of fixing of this problem. We need to, again, lock them to the ground. So let's try with the velocity, or we can try with the position. Let's try with the position. Okay, so we can say vector dollar, sorry, it's not a dollar sign, dollar pos is equal to position. And then we can say position is equal to dollar pos in x, 0 for y, and dollar pos in z. Nothing special. Grab these two, copy, and throw them in here as well, to force them to be stuck to the ground. That's going to force them to find another way. You see? They start to look until, oh, we run out of time. Let's just give ourselves more time. Let them orient themselves. You see how they're just finding their own space. These are going through each other. There might not be any room in here. But anyway, we're still going to put another force because right now they're going in a straight line. But as far as avoiding themselves, I think it's fine. And we don't have any flying zebras here. Good. Another problem is solved. You see? No panic. No panic, man. This you had a flying zebra, and a minute later you don't have it anymore. We did what we always do. Okay? We get a vector. Just ignore this for this. We ask for the position of the particle and store in a vector, and then we just say keep everything the same, but y. Don't let them fly. Ground them by putting 0 in y. You have to do that in creation. You have to do it in runtime. Otherwise, it just happens on the first frame, and then you just fly away. Simple. No biggie. All right, we continue to move forward. If you want to amuse yourselves, then you can probably just put a camera here, do that, let them move, and then you can render a frame. Comes out black because I hit the sun. No panic. You didn't break it. We hide the emitter. We put this one that has the texture. Hit play. Hit play. No, I'm sorry. Hit render. You see? Check it out. It works. Of course, needs lighting, needs help, but they're there. They're casting shadows of their present. They're stuck to the ground. Cool. It looks awful as far as lighting and all that, but it works. Textures are going through, which is fine as well. All right, we keep fixing issues, keep fixing problems. They're all going in a straight line. I don't like it. Let's put a turbulence field. No attenuation to make it global. Test it like that and see what it does. We need to fix the mass as well. Once you start introducing forces, it's needed to fix the mass. So, you know, some get affected by it more than others, right? We can say something like this. We can say that the mass, right, is equal to random scale. Why not? Yeah. And you multiply that because it's such a small number. See, random scale is 0.075, 0.15. So as a mass, it's very little. Yep. But you can multiply that by 10, perhaps. So that way you're relating the size of the animal with the weight of the animal. So why not? Let's try it. You'll see subtle changes. Little guys will move faster. So now we can just try up in the magnitude. Let's see what that does. Okay, they separate a little. And of course, they need to orient themselves in the direction they're walking. So aim direction needs to be velocity. And they all go funny. It's all right. It's because it's too strong of a turbulence. Don't worry about it. All right, cool. Let's just lower this. Okay. It's crazy, huh? Just put it back to 1. It also has to deal with the fact that they're actually separated. That's why I let them be a little bit. Because they're moving and they're separating each other. So let me see. Let me just let it run a little and make sure that there's no other problems here. Aside from the obvious fact that they're all screwed up in their rotations. Okay, that's weird. All right. Let me go to the perspective. I need another look at this from a different angle. Seems like they're dead, huh? This is kind of scary looking. Cool. All right, let's fix this as well. I'm gonna take the magnitude to 0 because this is coming from the radial field. Let's see. This is how we test it, right? So we take out the turbulence, I'm sorry. We take out the magnitude of this field and then they should, okay, so you see? This is how we test if we're in the right direction or not. So orient them like that, then you see what, you know, they get laid down on the ground. So we need to show them. They show the main ones. So display, show selection. Okay. Let's make sure that this group doesn't have any, okay, no changes in here. That's fine. We can test it by grabbing all of them and try to rotate them and see if it changes. So it doesn't change, you see? Stop, I hate that my keyboard sometimes stops working, man. I don't know why it does that. All right, cool, so that doesn't change. All right. Let's see how we fix this. Grab the particles, go back in here. So aim direction, it didn't like it. Well, it did like it, but it's rotating them weird. That's not really the angle that I want. I didn't check though when we instance this thing. We didn't check that they're aiming in the positive X. Okay, so they're not aiming in positive X. Remember, that's another of the requirements. So we're gonna have to rotate them. It doesn't matter, it doesn't fix this issue yet, but that's another check. This is good to showcase that you can modify the main instances afterwards. So modify freeze transforms. Okay, so we get this. Let's try again. Okay. That's good. Let me just try another rotation. Undo. Just I'm trying to hit Z on my keyboard to undo, but it doesn't want to do it. Okay, I'm gonna keep him like that for now. You'll think I'm crazy, but no, I'm not. Display height selection, because they're not moving really. I mean, they're moving a little bit, but I got rid of the forces, right? I'm just gonna push them forward and see what happens. So I'm gonna have my particles and I'm gonna connect them to a uniform field. Remember that the orientation is based on the velocity. So the velocity is 0. They have some sort of orientation, but so I'm gonna test it with the actual motion they're gonna have, which is forward. So attenuation is 0, and I'm gonna move them based on what I can see here in the positive X. So this is fine. Let's try. Guess what? They work. You'll say, oh, this is a broken record, but don't panic. You don't see my voice change. I get quiet a little bit because I'm just thinking. It proves that I'm not, scripting, or I'm not reading. Scripting, I mean, I'm preparing the class with numbers and things. I just run them beforehand, well, to have an idea what I want to go through and things like that. But I'm doing everything from scratch. I'm not looking at any notes or anything. But I don't panic. Don't panic. Don't worry. So it's understanding how things work. Okay, so they're moving forward. That's good. We can bring back slowly our forces. So the radial field, we can go ahead now. And we had it at 5. It could be too much. Let's see what the effect it will have on this. Let them settle. It's normal. Let them settle. Let them settle. There we go. You see? It works. It looks beautiful. Let's bring the turbulence field. I'm not going to go back. I'm just going to leave it here so they don't have to settle once again. This could mess with them a little. It's normal. I'm going to lower the frequency. Let's see, lower little by little. Magnitude is too much. This is just subtle. Subtle movement. Let them settle again. Don't worry about the mess. Beautiful. You see, once you lower the turbulence a little, then it works. Now we can test something. We can put the frequency very high. Okay. I like it. It looks beautiful. If you don't want to wait, okay. This is my actual render camera. So my direction needs to be adjusted. So again, don't panic. We want them actually going, based on what we can see, they want them to go in this direction, right? So it's almost like a set direction. So I'm gonna grab my uniform field. I'm gonna give it, in X, I'm just gonna give it 0.3, but I'm gonna give it 1 in Z to move them in the right direction. Let them settle. Don't worry. Okay. There they go. If you want to center this thing, it's not a big deal. We can just move our camera in our plane. I'm gonna have to probably scale this thing a little bit, which is fine. One second. Okay. All right, so let's just scale this guy in this direction and in that direction. Cool. Remember that if you move the camera, select it, don't forget it, and then Shift W, Shift E, but it doesn't want to do it, so because my keyboard, so I'm gonna have to key select it. All right, so everything is centered now. I think that's fine. So I'm in within my bound. All right, cool. Let's just double check. If you don't want to have to wait for them to settle, which is something we haven't actually talked about, you could save the initial state if you want. Let me just look at and move a little. That looks good. You can force them, if you want to force them to separate each other a little bit more, it's okay. You can up this number. They will do a better job staying clear from each other. Same idea, if the max distance you think it needs to be bigger, then up it up a little bit, 30 units. Give them time. They need to find their space. They will eventually come to a rest. Okay. That's good. So yeah, if you don't want to wait for them to settle, it's not a problem. You can let them, find a position where you like them. Actually, oh, my camera's moving. That's why. As well, my camera's moving. So let me just 1 second. Let me just grab my camera. You see, I have 2 keyframes. So I'm gonna go to the one that I like, which is the final position. I'm gonna get rid of this. Break connections, and then keyframe in the right place. My camera was moving as well. It's kind of weird. All right, so let them. Well, I was gonna say let them settle a little bit. If you don't want to wait for this to happen, and every time you play back and render, it's okay. Give them a little bit of time. If you're happy with this, then you can just grab the particles, and I believe they moved it, but it should be here on the solver, and it should be here. Initial state, set for selected. On the Flex Power User program, then we talk about this, and I give you my opinions. I'm not a big fan of this. It's better to have what is called pre-roll, which is beginning the simulation before your render frame. But it's okay. In this case, it's not a big deal, so save it. Because now they added a clear initial state, which is better. Before, we didn't have that. So set initial state, meaning that they will begin at this position. You see? So you don't have to wait for them to settle anymore. And there they go. It's just a matter now of adjusting the magnitude of this. I'm not a big fan of having too much, so big of a distance, and it's definitely not that much of a force of they don't repel each other so strongly, right? Let them be. Actually, they look good when they clump up a little. So just for the sake of testing, just try a smaller distance. Let them come closer. All right, cool. All right, so we have all this taken care of. So that's perfectly fine. Now we need to deal with the trail. That's what I was saying at the beginning of the lesson. So it's going to be an emitter for free. So we're going to use 1 emitter per animal, and it comes free. What I mean when it comes free? I don't think we have done it yet, but particles can emit other particles. We've definitely done it in the Effects Power User, but we haven't done it in this course. So if particles can emit particles, what it means? It means that we have actually here, let's hide this thing. Let me just display my selection and grab these guys. Okay, and you can see that I have particles here. I have 1 particle per zebra. Yep, sure. So I can use these particles to emit another set of particles. And that's what's going to become my trail. That's what I mean that I made it for free. So I can just grab these guys, go back to mParticles, go to emit from object, but in this case, instead of being surface, it's going to be an omni emitter. This rate, okay, is each one of them. So this is like you had 300 emitters. Be careful with this rate. I'll leave it at 100, but I can change it later. So hit create. Now you get a new particle system, which we can call it dust, so you don't get confused, being emitted of these particles with a high rate of 100, which I think is too much. You can see now you have the surface emitter, which emits this particle, and this one at the same time has an emitter, which emits the dust. This is the emitter for this particle system. So I'm going to take the rate very low, just to test if it works, because it can get very big, the amount of particles, very quickly. Save it. To make it different, these particles, I'm going to make them cloud particles. And hit play. And look what you get. Already, man, this is very cool, very simple. Yes, we need to work a little bit on them, but here you go. You get something, you see, for free. No issues. Show your animals once again. Look at it from the camera. And we need to make sure of something. I'm noticing here that the particles are not matching the position of my animal. See? They should be near. Remember that we put it down below the nose, or the face of the animal? So we need to double check that. There must be some sort of translation somewhere that we didn't account for. So let's just double check that. Display, let's just show the selection, which is this guy's here, and make sure that this pivot point is matching. Let me just make sure of that. So I'm going to go to the perspective view. I'm going to make sure we can grab all of them and center the pivot first. That's going to change the way this works. And it could be because it's related to the initial state. So what we're going to do is grab the particles for these animals, and we're going to delete or clear the initial state. So initial state, clear initial state. That's fine. They will show up somewhere else. The pivot point should be moved, but I can still see that there is a discrepancy. It shouldn't be, right? Because our pivot point for the animals is now moved. So there's something weird here. It shouldn't happen, because you see that it seems like the animals here, the particles here. So that means there's some sort of translation somewhere that is being affected. So let's double check the particles. They don't have translations themselves, which is okay. For what I can see here, there's no translations whatsoever. Anyway, just freeze it again. Center the pivot. This group, center the pivot as well. Still, it's a bit odd. One thing I can try is to get rid of these guys out of the group. So, get them out of this group, have them separately. Okay, they still show up in a different location, and this is not a good thing because the forces for the collision avoidance are coming from here, from the particle. So it's not really, we need to solve this thing. So let's keep looking, let's see. Modify, we need to stick to this idea that it has something to do with the pivot point or translations that these guys can have. So let's just make sure that's true. So let's try one more time. Center the pivot, everything is good. And freeze transformations. Very, very weird. I'm not gonna give myself too much of a headache with this. I'm gonna get rid of my instancer. Just one last check. My instancer is not moved. I'm gonna get rid of it. Don't worry about it. Actually, I'm gonna save my scene. There are my particles. At least the particles are where they're supposed to be. And those are the ones that matter. The main particles. These guys. I'm gonna recreate my instancer. I'm gonna do it again, selecting everything. Going to my end particles, going to the instancer. Sorry, there you go. In order, create. It's okay. And now I need to hook up what I had before. So grab my particles in here. Everything is fine. It's acting funny, you see, in general, you know. Why do I say that? Because I try to open this tab and it doesn't let me open it. You see what I mean? It's acting weird. So historically, it's easier just to close this thing, make sure that everything is fine. At least I get my keyboard back when I get back. Let's close Maya. The fact that it's taking longer to close than usual tells me that there was some sort of issue. No problem. Let's open it back. It's funny because I always say that these lessons are going to last an hour. But somehow I extend myself. I know I talk a lot. But I hope that you're listening. I hope that you like what I'm saying. Yeah, there you go. Maya's coming back up. All right, let's open it back. Okay, let's see. Maybe that will help us with our issue. It's acting funny because I shouldn't have to open my tab for the attribute editor and then just have no access to my instance. That makes no sense. Now I do. Sorry. I don't. That is weird. If it does that, I don't care. I don't panic. I get rid of it again. We could try is remove everything. So remove all of them. All the items if you want. Grab them again. Grab the instancer, add selection, fine. And now double check again and see if it's not letting me. That's frustrating. I'm gonna get rid of it again. Okay. I don't think it shouldn't have to matter if you have stuff instance on those particles already. Meaning a field in an emitter. It shouldn't matter. For the sake of speed, I'm just going to grab one. Effects and particles. Instancer. Okay, it's doing it again. I'm thinking, because it's never happened to me before. What I'm thinking, it probably has something to do with this. Because creating the dust, it doesn't have anything special. I'm gonna try it like that. Getting rid of the dust, getting rid of the instancer and making it again. Okay. Okay, it's back. Now that I'm thinking, it could be, I don't know if it was having anything to do with the fact that I had two particle systems in the scene. Let me just try that. I'm gonna undo. I'm gonna bring back my emitter and my dust particle. and I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna get rid of this instancer and try to make it again correctly, just to make sure that it wasn't my mistake. So if I make an instancer, there we go. I was making the instancer in the wrong node. It's my bad. Keep calm. You see, I keep calm. I don't. Now I'm thinking, yeah, of course, I have two particle systems, and it will try to use probably the second one. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. Make sure that it's in the right one. Hit create. All this is just to see if they go where they belong, but I still see some sort of, if it keeps happening, which I can see already that it is, still there's something weird with our main zebra. It's all I can think of. So I'm gonna go back to my instancer and make everything the way it was before, meaning the object index is object index, aim direction is velocity, and scale is scale. But I can still see that they're off. And that's bugging me a lot. Okay. Just to test, okay, I'm going to, well, I can now regroup. But I'm not going to regroup them yet, because honestly, it's annoying. But I don't want to regroup them because I probably have to move them. These guys. Let me just keep testing. Let me just keep looking. What's the issue? This is what we get paid for, right? To look for issues. Here they are. Another thing that I don't like, which it shouldn't happen, and I find it weird. Well, actually, it's okay. They're moving. I was still just saying they kind of look like they were on the ground. No, but they should be above the ground. So that's, it's correct that they're above the ground because the pivot point of these guys is above. You see, it's up to this point. Let me just go back to my, God damn it with this keyboard, man. Okay, patience. Okay, right side, where's my ground? Okay, so there's my ground. There are my animals is correct because this pivot point is moved. So if I go to wireframe and I move my pivot point for all of these guys, this is in a way, an interesting topic of conversation of doing the pre-check that I always do, right? So yes, you can modify it after the fact, but you can see that it starts giving you a bit of issues. I noticed something when I move the pivot point on these guys, is that the pivot points, of course, are not the same on all of them. You see? Well, let me just show you. I select all my animals right here. If I move the pivot point, I can see, you see a big collection of points. It's of course because the shape of each one of them is not the same. Now it looks like it aligned them. And now we're moving all of them at once. And they're all on top of each other. I'm going to go back to my side view to make sure that I'm putting this in the right place. Put this thing here. Move my pivot point and put it right there. It's also off. This aspect, meaning that it's not in the center here, so let me just move it to the center. and also put it towards the front. Okay. It's definitely orientation because we got rid of the instancer a couple of times. We reopened Maya, and the fact that it's still off could be because of that. All right, let's try again. And still off. So here's the particle, and my instance is moved. Man, that's annoying. All right, let's see what else can we do. Because everything seems to be moved fine. One more try. I'm gonna grab them all, group them. Oops. Okay, I did something accidentally with my finger here. I don't know what I did. Maya's gonna crash. All right. Well, this is good that happens. You see, not every day everything goes perfectly fine. In this case, you can see that they're aligned, right, in my sample scene. But it will be cheating just to jump to this one right away because we need to fix it. It could happen to you. So bear with me. We need to figure it out. And as I do these things, I hope you're also, in your mind or in your scene, if you're watching and the lesson and working in Maya at the same time, then try to come up with a solution. I don't know exactly what combination of keys I pushed, but it crashed Maya. I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to group something. I was trying to hit Control G, but I did something else. I don't know what happened. And you can see that my file got corrupted. Well, no, sorry. We didn't want to read it. I reopened it and it's fine. All right, let's see where we are because I don't know when I saved. Okay, so I need to take my instancer actually here and put everything back to normal. Oh, this is an old scene, old instancer. I'm gonna have to do this quickly. So grab all of them. Modify, center the pivot. Go to the right view and move it down. Okay. All right, go to the front. All right, the pivots are still off in some of them, but we'll fix that in a minute. Okay, I got that done. Save this thing because that's acting funny. And back to effects, back to the instancer. Make sure that it's on the particle shape one, which is the one I need. Hit create. Then particle shape, I know already that I need to change my scale, my object index, and my aim direction. Save this thing so we don't lose any work. Okay, fine. We'll still have the issue of the fact that these things are not aligned. Knowing what I was trying to do before the thing crashed is to group all these guys again. Group them. You see that crashes Maya. So I didn't hit any weird key. When you try to group them after they're being used for some reason, it just crashes Maya. All right. That's definitely a bug. That's not something that you're doing wrong or anything like it. just doesn't want for you to group it after there being instance. Okay, that's fine. We'll work around this. Luckily, we saved our scene. So if that's the case, if it doesn't like it, we're going to have to delete the instancer, group them, and then do it again. So okay, create. I'm trying to group them, but it doesn't let. Okay, there we go. Group, modify, center pivot. I'm going to grab the pivot of the group itself. I don't think it should matter, but I'm going to move it to where I want it. Put it right there. And right there. Okay, so I'm going to save this thing one more time. I'm going to make sure that this group has no transformations. Actually, I'm going to put these animals on the ground. So freeze transformation, edit, delete history. Okay, everything is reset. One more time, we'll double check this, guys. We center the pivot point, freeze transformations, and delete history. All right, they're clean. Grab all of them. I'm gonna keep saving because it's acting funny, so I don't want to waste more time, right? So back to effects. Once again, we make this instancer on the right particle. You can do it all here if you want to. You know, meaning this random scale, object index, aim direction. Hit create. All right. Save it. Let's look at this again through perspective. Okay, so it works, but we'll still have this issue. We'll still have the issue. So everything is clean on my instances. Everything is fine. I'm going to disconnect them from the forces, just in case. So I'm going to go to my relationships, dynamic relationships. I'm going to grab my particles and I'm going to disconnect them from all of them. And they're still off. So it's not an issue with the forces, from what I can see. They're all off. I'm thinking here, one second. What else can it be? Because there's no other transformations in the scene. There's still something funny with this animal here. He's clean, he's center, and he should do it, but it doesn't. It'll probably be a matter of recreating this from scratch, which I don't want to do because it will take another class. Because I'm just thinking there could be something that when I duplicated these animals, but it doesn't really matter. It shouldn't matter because the moment you move your pivot point, but look at something. Look at the pivot point of this one that I have selected. For example, we moved them already. And somehow they're back at the center. So why is that? That shouldn't have happened, you see? Pivot point got moved. We had it placed where it was, where it's supposed to be. And also all those pivot points in different positions, I don't really like it. All right, so let's try one more time. If not, definitely we're gonna have to open my sample scene. He got better. Well, still off, but it got better. Just check out it from here. They're still off, you see. Cut it from the top. Just comparing pivot points, but they're off. They're off. They're off. They're off. You can see them here. That much distance. Too much. Let's just rewind and save the scene. And let me open the one that I did for the testing, for what you see on the renders. Let me just look at it for a minute. And where did I put it? Just bear with me 1 minute, please. Zebra. There we go. Okay, here they are. Here are my instances. Here's my pivot point. It looks like each zebra here has the pivot point on the top, but it's the same pivot point, it doesn't move. My group is the one that has the pivot point on here. Pretty much the same thing. Animal systems, here's my animals. Yeah, and the particles are in the right place. Let me just show you anyway. So they match. That's the way it's supposed to look on the other one. These instances you see are facing in the positive X as the other ones do. No transformations, nothing, no history. The only difference that I can see from this this scene file and the other one is that just the difference in the pivot point. But it works. It's the same thing. All right, let's go back to the other scene. We're not gonna give up. Scaling of the scene, the difference, it shouldn't matter, to be honest. I don't see why that would be an issue. So I'm gonna grab this pivot point, and this is in the right place. And I'm gonna grab these guys. I'm gonna center the pivot for all of them. But we still have that problem. Tricky. I will have to redo it, probably. I will have to redo the scene. There was something off when I made the duplicates of the animal, perhaps. I just noticed that, you know, when I started emitting the dust of the particles, I just noticed that. So, well, we can do it. It's not really that big of a deal. It doesn't take too much time. I'm just thinking of redoing the duplication of the main guy. So what we can do is this. We can delete the main animal and the instancer. We're just gonna stick to these particles here that they're emitting the dust. We have the lighting, everything is just the same. So save it. Hopefully it will work. Let's import our zebra, which is right here. There it is. Okay, this animal here It was a 38 frames, I think, 39 frames. I'm going to disable the evaluation of the particles. So if dynamic is off, so I don't have particles in the scene, so I can move freely. Just to check my, yeah, it's 39 frames. All right, cool. So I'm gonna grab this animal right here and I'm going to run my script. Perfect. I'm gonna get rid of the original. There you go. Hide the environment light. Why is not okay? Because it came with an environment light. It's 0. That's why it was visible. I don't need that. All right, cool. My environment light should be here. Perfect. Cool. I got my zebras in place. All I need to do now is to grab this group and do my pivot point changes. Place it where it's supposed to. Move my pivot point once again to where I want it. All right. And also orient it in the right axis. So grab the whole group, rotate it 90 degrees, and modify freeze transformations. It's normal, X is locked because all these guys are locked. So unlock selected. Let's try something. So modify freeze transforms. Okay, so it froze the transformations for everything. This is fine. And edit, delete by type, history. Okay, so we get a brand new set of geometry here. We'll see if it works. So this is my lesson 15, save it. And we need to do is just instance these animals once again. So it wasn't that painful. Okay, and instance it right here. Object index, correct, random scale, velocity. This is interesting. You can see that I haven't specified this again, and it's already assuming this. So I hope there's no some sort of history going on because it already knows these attributes. It's kind of weird. All right, let's try. We need to re-enable the evaluation of the particle system. Looks like, no, it's off. It's off, it's off, it's off. Well, no, is it off? I don't think so. One second, let's just try. Let's reconnect it to the forces because I think we're better now. Let me go to relationship editors, dynamic relationships, 1, 2, 3. Just to get them moving. And we're going to give ourselves 2400 frames. Let them settle, but no. They're off again. They are definitely off. It tells me now, you know, given the fact that I recreated this, there's no history. You see there's no transformations on anybody. Pivot points match. This is okay. Having to do with the scale of the animal, I doubt it. We can try it. You know, we could try scaling everything here, but I'm thinking if we scale this down, I don't know. I mean, the only difference between my test scene and this scene is that the scale of this animal is bigger. Seems like I scaled down the other one. What I'm thinking is, well, if that's true, if it has to do with the scale, it's because probably, well, it is in the center. I was thinking that there was some sort of mismatch in here and you scale it, down so big, so little, sorry, when you instance these things, then you might get an offset of the particles, but I don't think so. To make it just like the other one, we can probably scale this down, okay, to 0.1. Okay, here it is. You do modify, you freeze transforms. It's normal that they go little because we're having the expression. We have to now tweak the expression. We were scaling them in the expression, remember? So now we need to go into the expression and then just say, just move the decimal point forward like that. And don't multiply by 10 because now our scale is different, right? Okay. And now I can see that it got amplified, even worse now, the scaling differences in here to the actual objects. You see? There's that, and now my particles are over there. So this thing got amplified even more. And it's turning into one of those little nightmares that, Also, well, okay. My brain is starting to get an idea. Listen, check this out. I did all these changes, right? I multiplied by, I scaled down by 10 my main objects, okay, my main instance zebras. I adjusted the scale on the expression. I adjusted the mass on the expression. And now I can see the difference between the position of the particle and the animal get even bigger. And now I'm thinking, well, there's one number that I haven't adjusted yet. And that is the max distance of this guy, the radial emitter. I haven't changed that. I had it at 20 because the distance on my other scene was big. So 20 was an appropriate number. Or 10 in this case. I haven't adjusted that. I'm going to leave that, put that to 1, and let's see if we see a difference between the position of these particles and the animals now. Okay, let's rewind it, play it back. Well, not quite, still off. Let's look at this, and let's take a look at this, guys. Yeah, everything seems to be fine, and it's getting even worse. So edit, delete by type history, freeze, everything is fine. All the pivot points are in the right place. And now my particles and my instancer don't match at all. One more time, because I don't, give up so easily. I'm going to recreate this guy. I'm going to change the name of the particles. Because I didn't like it that it had some sort of memory in here. Remember a few things. I'm just going to call it zebra just to change the name. And see, because I really like when I create the instance, I already remember all the attributes that I wanted to use. And that will suck if it's some sort of history here. So you can see it already knows what I want to use. So don't do anything. I don't want anything from you. Just like it. Nah, and they're still off. This scene is foobar, like they say. I will have to recreate the emission and see why. We can keep extending the class. I don't mind. I hope you don't mind to see this. And I think, like always, we always learn from all these things. What I'll do to save a little bit of time, so we don't have to type these things, is just to go to creation expressions. I'm gonna copy my creation expressions. I'm gonna paste everything here. And I'm gonna copy all this because I'm gonna get rid of the particle, sadly. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna get rid of this and get rid of that and get rid of the dust. The turbulence in the uniform can stay. The emitter of the plane has to go away. And quickly do this. So this is my render ground. I don't need it. I need this one. Okay, so particles, create emitter. Sorry, emit from object. Surface, go. Okay, zebras, conserve of 0.98, max count of 300. My emitter is going to emit 3,000 particles with no speed. I'm also going to plug in the texture right away. So rendering, hypershade. So this is me at full speed, so you can have an idea. Zebra file ramp. Here's my ramp. Grab my emitter. Grab the ramp. Throw it. Enable it. Okay, make sure that it works. It does work. Go ahead and save. All right, I get my zebras in here. I can instance right away. And particles, instancer. All done. Zebras, create. And they're off right off the bat. And they're off by the same distance. Brand new particles. So it doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't like my geometry of the zebra. There is still, even though we don't have it visible here, we still have some sort of transformation. And it's unbelievable. Because there's no reason why it should be. It's unbelievable. Freeze transformation and make sure that it's freezing everything. Unreal. Unreal. Is this happening? Delete by type history. There's the material. It has this. Unbelievable that this is happening. You can see everything is zeroed out. Everything is normal. Aha. Check it out. Look at my zebra mesh. And look at where the pivot point is. So now, okay. See, it got moved. The pivot of that one moved away. Man, this scene is like one of those possessed things that. Let's see. God, it's crazy, crazy stuff. Grab them all. Let me reset transformations. Okay, let me just center my pivot. Okay, freeze transforms. And delete history one more time. Unbelievable, man, that this is happening. Unbelievable. Wow, this thing is crazy, man, that this is doing this. Edit, delete by type history. Nothing, doesn't want. Well, I don't know what to say. I guess in this case, redoing the scene, but I don't know what else can redo because everything is done already. I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to try something. Okay, this is something that is good for testing. Okay, to test if it's the particles that are failing or if it's the geometry of the animal that is failing. I'm going to make a simple sphere. This guy's never going to fail me, and I'm going to instance that. This is a good way of checking and create frame, and it works. Okay, so all my geometry is instanced correctly on top of the particle. So it's not the particles. Let me open this thing. Don't save it. Continue. Okay, so here's my scene from before. I'm gonna do the same thing in this scene. I'm gonna create a sphere. I'm gonna make it big. I'm going to instance that onto the particles of the zebra and create. So they work. See? Look for the sphere and you have a particle in the center. If they move, well, they're not going to move because they don't have forces connected to them. So let's try that. Just to get an idea of why they're not moving. Oh, they're moving, but why are they moving away, off from their center? So the instancer is fine, the particles are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. There's no transformation. All my issue is with these zebras. And yeah, I think I know what it is already. There you go. Okay. I'm stupid. One of the checks was to center everything on the grid. That's it. That's all the issue. Everything was fine, but because I wasn't looking at the grid from the beginning, I missed that big check. What can I teach you, aside from everything I taught you so far, is that the pre-check at the beginning is very, very important. We can fix it all afterwards, as you saw. I did and redid everything twice. I didn't freak out, but I kind of got frustrated because it took longer than usual. That's not really the case. I'm not embarrassed or anything. That happens. It happens to everybody. It happens to me as well. I forgot to check my orientation as with the grid. That's all. That model, I will expect. I'm not trying to blame anybody. This is my fault, 100%. But I'm thinking, when you receive a model, when you buy a model, always make sure that it's in the center of the grid. That's the way they should deliver it to you. They shouldn't deliver it to you with some sort of weird transformation. So that's all. That's all we need to do. So let's grab this and orient it on the center of the grid. Okay, here I am. By the way, this is the little cube that I made at the beginning for testing. So they're my zebras. You see, that's why they're off. So I'm going to move them right here. Sometimes it's tricky, right, to get to a conclusion of why this is happening, but there it is. Where is the center? The center is right there. Okay. If you want, you can just hit X and the middle mouse button and click a little bit, and then we'll just snap it. Okay, let me just make sure, because we're off here as well. So what I'll do is just, again, hit X, middle mouse button, and snap it. Okay, now it is correct. Then is the moment to freeze transformations and delete history. This should fix it. I'm very persistent. I don't give up, and I didn't jump to my other scene because I know that it is fixable. It is something stupid, and yeah, the stupid one was me. That's all. And this is fine. So there we go. So I'm gonna save the scene again. Recreate a little bit of what I lost. Well, let's just double check it, but I know it'll be okay. So there you go. I don't know. Okay, my instancer has no geometry instanced. Grab that, add selection. Okay, good. So now they do match. See? Here's the particle. Here's the animal that corresponds to it. So everything is okay. Now everything's perfect. Wow, that took a long time, huh? But I hope you're not bored and sleepy. All right, cool. So I get my zebras going. I get this. All I'm missing is the uniform field. So the radio field. I'm sorry that I deleted. Here's my radio field. You selected a source. I'm gonna save every now and then. Remember that this radio field needs to be applied per vertex, turned on. Attenuation is fine. We set a distance of 10 was okay. Perfect, and just set up here our attributes on the instancer. So scale. Okay, this is a scene that I didn't create that. No biggie. We'll do it quickly. I deleted those attributes, but random scale was one of them. It was a vector. There was a float called obj index. I'm going to paste my expressions. I know that the top half was creation. It's just to get back to where we were. Perfect. And perfect. And here now we can say that object index is object index, scale is random scale, aim direction is velocity. This scaling, probably because the expression is the old one. There we go, rewind and play. Okay, perfect. Everything is the way it should be, finally. So pre-flight check, man. Pre-flight check is very, very important stuff. You can see all the time that I wasted there. I kind of ate my profit for the day. All right, camera 1 is set up. Main instances are finally working. Poor guys. Okay, perfect. Everything is good. 300 zebras. Let them settle. When you're happy with the way they settle, you can remember, go into the initial state, set for selected. You begin right here. Perfect. All we needed now was to emit from object out of the zebras in particles. Create emit from object. This was an omni emitter with a rate. We're calling these guys dust. We're going back to where we were before. It's quite quickly once you don't have to teach it all. Conserve 0.98. These guys were clouds. And the rate I was using for this, I think it was 5. Save it, continue, and go. And there's a famous trail that I was trying to do from the very beginning. So we get them for free. And we need to probably adjust if you need to. Okay, we need to adjust the position of the pivot point because that's where the dust is going to be born. Of course, we need to connect this dust to some sort of turbulence. Okay, you do your double turbulence field deal. Perfect. They shouldn't be just standing there, not moving. They should probably move backwards a little bit. I'm going to give a little bit of wind. So I'm going to grab my dust. I'm going to connect them to a uniform field. The uniform field is going to have the opposite direction. Just to push them back. Tiny bit. We need to give them radius and mass changes to these guys. So dust, go back in here. We're going to do, okay, we're going to find here on the list radius per particle. You can use a ramp or you can use an expression. So if you want to use a ramp on the radius, be my guest. And then edit it. This ramp means that they're going to have a radius of 1 when they're born and a 0 when they die, and that's not really the case. You want to have the opposite. So they're born little and they grow. They have an eternal lifespan, which is not really true. We're going to fix that in a minute because they got a bit shorter. But they need lifespan for that. So they're going to live a random range. They're going to live between 2 seconds with plus or minus of 0.5. I think they need more time. Double it. Give them more randomness. More time they need. It's very easy to adjust, as you can see. Okay, let them grow. And now the radius, once you use radius like this and you're using a ramp, you don't have to just go from from black to white, because this is just 0, this is just 1, it's just represented by color. So if you want the radius, you see they're very small at the end. If you want them to be bigger than 1, it's not a problem because you get the value here on the color. This is covered on the effects power user, so that's why I'm not very specific on taking too much time for this. But this is just the representation. The color is representation. This is actually a value. So V is the one you need to change. So now they go from 0 to 3, so they're going to go a bit bigger. But they reach this 3 at the end of their life, right? So we probably shouldn't start at 0, we should start here and get there faster. Let's see. It's very cool to adjust it just using a ramp because it's very, easy to see. All right, so all of them are emitting the same amount. That's not probably what you want. You want to have something different. I'm going to move this earlier in their life. And I'm also going to give them a bit more life. I want them to linger a little. I'm going to give them 10 seconds. They're emitters. These particles from the zebras are emitters like any other, meaning that you have a max distance as well. So right now they're all being born on a little point. That's why they look very clear where they're coming from. But you can take your max distance and put it, I don't know, to, let's say, 2 units. Let's see the difference. Okay, got a little bit bigger. If you want to really check if it works, you can just put something really big, like 10. So you see they're being emitted not just from the point, but around the point with 10 units of radius. So this is working. They're hard to see at the beginning. I mean, from this angle with no textures. Now we can just hide this, bring this one back. There's my dust. Okay. We haven't done mass variations on these guys, so let's go ahead and do it. Mass is equal to a random number between 1 and 2. Now being close, we need to, we realize that we need to adjust the radius where they're born. So we can edit this ramp. Because right now they're starting at 0.5, so probably they should start, I don't know, let's start at 2. The max distance that we're using is probably too much, because you can see the individual particles. That's not really nice. And also the rate. We can probably try now a lot more. say 25. But you can still see they're born of a point around it, so the max distance, I'm going too far. Let's just use 3. Okay. Remember, this is an effect, okay? This little dust that you're doing is an effect that you need to let it run before you start rendering, so you need to have it already in the scene. So you can see from the air, okay, we're not too far from what we have here. You see, single trails. Having individual animals lost like this is, it's not really recommended, unless they're like this guy covered in dust, because that's when you start to see the trick, right? Again, the pivot point might need to be moved a little bit towards the front legs. And now that we fixed our issues, we can do it very quickly. We can grab our instances, display them, frame them. Because it's becoming the point of emission, then it's probably better to, wait 1 second, there we go. Let me just isolate this selected. It's becoming more obvious what we're doing, right? The trick. So we probably need to move that somewhere there. Just a little bit. Okay, hide it one more time, save it. Okay. We probably need to clear the initial state because the position of the zebras was saved when we did the initial state. So we need to probably clear it. So they're born again in the new position. You can see now the dust is closer to the front legs. Let me just look at this. Okay. So it's closer to the legs. Let them settle again. Save the initial state. And it's just a matter of adjusting the particle size, the transparency, okay? We haven't done any transparency yet, so we're going to do that in a minute. Let me just let these guys run a little bit. Transparency, we can grab these guys, add opacity per particle, and we can give them also a color if you want to. Color per particle if you want. Okay, so the opacity is going to be also a ramp. They're opaque when they're born and they start to fade out. But you can also ask them to be born transparent. Get to a point, okay, where start slowly and then grab some, right, and then go transparent again. Let's see. They're black, don't worry about it. It's because I just added a color attribute. But at least they have transparency. And this is going to become more interesting as the more randomness in life you start giving them. Because remember that they travel through this ramp as they get older. So if you give them some sort of, enough variation in life. So right now we have lifespan random. We can give them 3. That way we have particles that live 7 seconds or that live 13 seconds. So you start getting more variations. The trick with these particles is that they have to be big, a lot of them, and transparent. That's what gives you a nice look at the end. So right now I see them, they're a little bit on the small side. So basically, we just grab this. We start at 5. And we reach 10. We can also do it in an expression. You know, sometimes it's actually it's easier to do it in an expression. If you want to make these particles, give them some color as well, RGBPP, you can create an expression here. We could have done a ramp. Actually, we could do that. On RGB, we can plug a ramp as well. And this ramp will make them, let's say, gray color. We don't want anything black, and then we just pick one of these. Okay. Very quickly, you see with ramps you can get some coloring as well based on life. So they become a little bit lighter as they start to fade out. Similar to what we have here. Because remember that you need to light this thing. This is actually interesting because it looks fake. It looks gray, what I have here. It doesn't really match with the ground, so it's interesting, right? Once I think it has to do with the lighting, once it gets hit by light. Because it gets one color here, one color there. It looks almost like it's fake. It's put afterwards. But these guys are real. So there they are. We'll get a little bit slow because there's a lot of stuff going on. Probably the turbulence, and label things, right? So this is the turbulence of the dust. So turbulence, oops, sorry. Of the dust, the instancer, the zebras, right? So everything is kind of labeled because these guys can use a bit more magnitude. You put your expressions for the face animated and all that. But here it goes. Perfect. Well, we solved all the issues. That's good. I want to show you something before I finish the lesson. If you render this, it's going to render weird because Arnold, okay, doesn't, well, first of all, I need to bring my sun back. Let me just bring my sunlight back. Render this. Arnold is going to render, well, it does render the cloud particles, but it renders them like that. Yeah. So I was reading online, and I know that I believe it's David. David is very experienced with Arnold. Okay, he might have suggestions, and I'm always open for that because Arnold is not my strong suit. But reading online, okay, I figured out a way to render particles as volumes using Arnold. So what I'll do is open the scene. Let me save this one. This one is done. Finally. And I'm going to open the scene that I have here created that generated this picture. Because these are the cloud particles, but they're rendered as volumes. But they're point particles rendered as volumes with Arnold. So they kind of look fluidy, a bit more fluid like dust, right? Like they should. And I'm going to show you what they said we should do. And David, if you're watching this, then probably just you can come in with a better suggestion. So basically, they said to use this material. I mean, to create this material. Basically, it's an AI standard material. So the AI standard, okay, that's a standard shader, regular shader. And then have a volume collector, which is right down here. You have Arnold, then you have a volume. Let me just look at it. This guy, okay, the volume collector, which is this node. And then plug the out color to the volume shader. That's it. Then from the particles, you get the cloud particles, you get your alpha into the attenuation and the color into the scattering. That's basically the suggestions. If you search online for how to render particles as volumes in Arnold, or you look at the Arnold documentation, they will show you this. The easiest way, I can help you, because I think this is just a matter of help. You can see the dust particles that I'm using are rendered at, well, particle render type cloud, but the AI render is points. So the render has points with this shader. So what I can do to help you is basically delete everything here, even the camera, so I get nothing. I'll delete all the shaders that are not needed. I'll leave these guys in here, the ones that are AI standard and volume collector. These two are the ones I need. Particle cloud doesn't matter. I'll leave that like that, okay? And I'll save this scene, and we can use it for other lessons. I think it will be interesting. Okay, and we can try and save this as Arnold volume shader. Okay, and let's bring it into our scene. So this is what we had already. Let's save it. Let's import Arnold volume shader scene. Yeah, nothing special. And we go to the hypershade. Okay, so here's my Arnold volume shader standard. Okay, this is the standard eye, so this is the one that we're going to apply. And I'm going to grab my dust particles, and I'm going to assign this material to them. The one coming from what I did on my testing. That came from the documentation, and I'm really keen to see what you guys have to say about it. Okay, this got a little funky. No worries. Okay, let's just double check our scene, why this is doing what it's doing. Let me delete any layers that are not being used. Let me double check because they're not being emitted from where they're supposed to, so no worries. We go to the dynamic relationships, check out emitters, and they're supposed to be emitting from emitter 2. Okay. One of those things, right, that you just close the scene, open it back up, and it starts acting all funny, but I don't care too much. Okay, why are they doing that? Let's just delete that. And they're still being emitted. You see the funny things when they're happening? I don't know. I'm gonna get rid of all of it. No collisions. What does it say? No object matches name. I'm just trying to disconnect it from it because obviously it got connected to the other emitter somehow. So I'm just trying to make sure that today is not my day. Today is not my day. All right. What do you want? Okay, let's try like that. Unbelievable, huh? It's stuck on that emitter. Zebra is correct. Dust, I don't want it to be emitted from anywhere. There shouldn't be any particle emission in here. Interesting, huh? Let me open the scene back again. No biggie. Let me see if it got broken of some sort when I saved it. Okay, so it's correct in here. If I import my other scene, let's see if it's gonna break. Okay, yeah, you can see already starts to emit from another place. Wow, this is unreal, huh? Okay, no worries, I don't care. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna go to the shader scene. Make sure that there's nothing in here that it shouldn't be. There's nothing, to be honest with you. Let me just delete the unused layers. Okay, all I have is this 3D textures. They are needed for the shader, but okay, let me just try to export just the shader, see what happens. You can select the shader and you can export the selected network, and we can try on the scenes and then just say volume shader only. Let's see if that works. Okay, hopefully that shouldn't bring any crap from the other scene, so let's try. All right, dust is working. And now we can go to the hypershade. We go to File, Import, Volume Shader Only. Okay, it just brings a shader. Hopefully my particles won't get affected. There we go. This is a perfect class for debugging. They should be relabeled. You should label this class as debugging or what can go wrong. Okay, there you go. So perfect. Grab your dust and assign them. Rewind, play. Okay, so now I got my dust. Everything, all my simulation remains the same. So everything is fine. I'm just using a different shader on the particles. I'm gonna let them run a little bit so they have a bit of room. I'm gonna have to probably tweak it. So this is what I had, just Arnold rendering particles with a normal Lambert. Let's try this one and see what it does. Again, my sunlight. Actually, no, my sunlight is not hidden. Let's make sure that we're rendering. Okay, camera 1. Okay. So it is working. It's looking different because we need to adjust. The transparency, right? What we could probably do is, let me turn off the ground and let me hide the instances so we focus only on the particles. So this is what it does, right? And then we just need to work a little bit on the transparency of these guys. They could be too opaque, or actually just probably too many of them. Let's lower the rate to 5 because they look a bit thick. Let them run a little bit more. Okay. And let's render them. Yeah, they look opaque. Let's play with the transparency, okay, and work a little bit. But at least this is a shader that Arnold, understands. That people from Arnold recommend. It is a cool thing because it will help you. It will help you render particles as volumes. It's kind of like volumes, right? Graph material. Sorry, graph input and output connections. Okay, so we didn't bring everything here, so compare with the other scene. Okay. So yeah, it's on the volume shader. So yes, it's not the same network as I had on my other scene. You didn't quite bring it correctly. Because this shader is not the same. But that's why it's not looking just the same either. So let's just look at this. Second, I never save your scenes with particles visible. Never. Okay, so let's open this again. You can see that the network is different. It's different thing. So out alpha, you see there's other connections being made. So the out color goes into different places. So, well, we could try importing that. I don't know why it really breaks my other scene. It shouldn't. It shouldn't break my scene, but at this stage, man, everything has gone, so many things have gone wrong today that I don't care anymore. Let me just try again. Import the shader scene. And it breaks my dust. I love it. What a mess. Dust shape emitter 2, particle cloud, Lambert, turbulence dust. Well, what I'll do is I'll upload the zebra, of course, and I will upload a scene, just my actual scene from the one with the shader, so you can have that and then work it, use it as a reference if you want to. So I'll upload this scene just with the shader, so you can have this and work it out yourself. The result of that, okay, it should be this kind of look, using this kind of material. Again, the shader, I find it as a freebie that I'm giving you because I don't like to get mixed into the rendering because it's not really my thing. The simulation part, I think we fixed all the bugs. I think we finally realized what was wrong. We saw 101 different problems today. It's the first lesson that came with so many issues, but we fixed them all, which is the objective. That's what we like. It got extended way too long, longer than I expected. So tomorrow I'll record again because I don't have any voice left. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the class. Interesting one, definitely. Funny because I have to record this in Spanish, and I hope I get so many issues because otherwise I have to, make sure that they happen, all the problems that I got today. So with that, well, thank you very much. Remember, I'm going to look for a scene file with this shader and look for the zebra on the FTP. So with that, well, thank you very, very much. Apologies for all the mistakes, but I hope you enjoy them. And well, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.